we wanted to actually tell y'all about why, like, what motivated us to start the podcast. Why did we think of a podcast? And
Yeah,
so,
nobody really thinks about a podcast.
yeah, not many people are doing podcasts. It's kind of a new thing. Not many people do. There aren't that many out there.
So explain to them.
So,
Yeah, because we have tried to do this before, haven't we?
yes. So we tried to do this, and last time we actually included Zach on it, but this time we didn't want to like deal with scheduling with 3 people because 2 people is hard enough.
So hard. Yeah, this is really difficult. But don't worry, we will have Zach on, and just in a future date as soon as we get this ball rolling.
Yeah. So that podcast was originally going to be called Fawky, which stands for Funny and We Know It.
Yeah, we were young.
And we recorded 1 episode of that podcast, and it is somewhere on a computer at my home in Mac, assuming that computer hasn't been wiped. And if we keep this thing going for long enough, I might try and find it. And as long as it's not 100% terrible, we might release it as a special edition.
No, it's going to be awful.
It is going to be absolutely awful. The sound quality is going to be awful. I know that for sure.
The sound, the camera quality. I think I remember a picture from it.
So speaking of that picture, we had a Twitter for Fawky. We had a Twitter. And so we posted a tweet after we finished recording that first podcast. And this is that tweet.
Yeah, there. That's your
how
boy.
You celebrate your first podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a picture of that.
What is up with you and Twitter? You got to get off this app.
I have recently, so we don't have as much material from it since then. Like after like my first couple years of college, I kind of stopped using it.
Holy cow. I can't believe I can't believe it has that. That video needs to be erased.
Things on the internet are forever, man.
What year is that from? It has to please be like 15 or something. Make me feel better.
I think it was either 15 or 16 for sure. It definitely wasn't any newer than that. Wait, what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was when we were younger. Let's just say that.
Yep, definitely.
Well, yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And so the reason why we made that podcast is kind of the same reason why we decided to make this podcast, which stems from my favorite podcast, which is the What Say You podcast.
That he messed up at the beginning.
Yes, that is why I messed up at the beginning, because I've heard that so many times from them. Like, because they always started off with, and so I've always been afraid that I'm going to say it, because whenever, like, I think about it too much, like, I immediately go to that. Because I've just heard it a million times.
Don't think about
elephants. Next time I'm just going to say, welcome to the Elephant Podcast now. Thanks for the help.
Yeah. I'm glad I could be here. Moral support mostly.
But yeah, so that podcast is hosted by Sal Vulcano and Q from Impractical Jokers, which is a big TV show.
Hilarious.
Yes, it's hilarious. And the podcast is also very hilarious. And that podcast has actually had like a massive influence on my life in more ways than just this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's several things from there that I've adopted into my daily life. So one of them is, do you know how I tend to start off my text message with, hey, like with multiple E's and Y's? That is from that podcast.
Are you serious?
Yep. So from that podcast, they had an episode. And in that episode, so they had met Shaq before, and so they had Shaq's phone number.
Nice.
So they decided to just randomly text Shaq, hey, and they've never texted him before, but that was going to be their text after a year of not seeing him or talking to him.
Hey.
And then also they decided to just text random numbers in their phone And so I just kind of adopted that into my daily life of just using that, hey, to start my text messages.
To random people?
Yep. So yeah, that's one thing that I've added into my life. There's honestly so many things, because I just listened back through it, which is why I was motivated to make this podcast again. So the first time we made a podcast, I had just finished listening through the first time. And then this time I re-listened to every episode they ever put out, and they haven't put out an episode in over 2 years. And so I just finished listening to it. And so I told you, we made that podcast a while back. I just finished. I'm really motivated to do it. You want to do it? And you're like, yeah, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Let's do this thing. Let's get it going.
So yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
And a funny thing about that, though, and a challenge
Just
I want to make to
kids
you.
in the spring, really. It's not summer yet.
No, it's somewhere in our minds. That's the point.
It's always fun up there.
It's always fun. So I actually have a challenge for you. So we released our first episode this past Sunday.
Right.
And like I said, they hadn't released an episode in over 2 years, but they actually released one last Friday, right before we released our first one. So I want our challenge to be, we have to release more episodes than them this year.
Okay.
That is our challenge.
Okay. No, we can do that.
Also
weekly's very, very difficult, but we're gonna get it done.
I don't think they're gonna be weekly either, so we're good. I'm also gonna tweet at them, and I'm gonna challenge them and make sure they're aware of our challenge, and see if they can get them to respond.
How many? Dude, this is gonna be awesome. We're gonna do an episode in Vegas one time. I like Vegas.
Yeah,
we gotta do it weekly.
Weekly, we got to get this done. I hope we can beat them. We got to beat them. And
Should be no problem.
Yeah. And so actually for our YouTube audience, I also wanted to mention, you probably noticed that I'm not actually wearing Miami Heat this time.
Okay. This is the first time in a very long time, like probably 2 years, since I've seen Chris without Heat on there. And as soon as I saw him, I asked him if he was sick. Didn't I?
I picked to wear this shirt today for a specific reason, because I knew we were going to be talking about What Say You. And so this is my What Say You shirt. It has a bunch of references to What Say You. So on What Say You, they have a little honey bear. And this is an evil little honey bear named Nugget. And they have a voice that they do for it. And so every once in a while during a podcast, they'll just have Nugget come on, and he'll just say something that's like evil. So he'll be like, they'll be talking about like something, like, let's say if they were talking about the coronavirus outbreak right now, the Nugget would just come on and be like, Nugget likes the death that's going on. Something like that. God. So that is this honey bear.
It's not very sweet.
And then that's why it's also the Nuggets is the team name for the t-shirt. And then finally, the name on this shirt is Zip Zip. I'm not going to stand up and turn around for it though. And the number is 44 because they have a story on the What Say You podcast from Sal's childhood. So when he was younger, he was on a junior varsity basketball team for his high school. And he was
Nuggets.
He was the star player on his junior varsity team. He was like the last one cut from varsity. And so they were going into their first game, and they were not good at all. They were learning dribbling in their practices.
Oh God!
Sal was the only one with any like skills at all before him.
Okay.
So they are going into their first game, and they go in, and the first thing Sal sees when he walks in is one guy dribbling backwards between his legs, just staring Sal down while he dribbles backwards down the court. And then when he gets to half court, he turns around, drives in, lays it up, and slaps the backboard.
Okay.
And that was Sal's first entrance to this team he's going to face.
That's awesome.
So they're the game starts, they're playing, and it gets down to like the last 5 minutes. And every possession is really impactful because everyone's getting, really loud on both sides because the score was like 36-0.
Whoa,
and so
okay.
Sal's team just wanted a score before the game was over. And the other team wanted to hold them to 0 because that never happens in basketball.
No. It didn't even happen with us.
No, because we were like teens playing in an adult basketball league with Shock.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
And so we were getting crushed in most of our games.
Yeah.
But
It was bad.
we
But
even
we
we
were
scored.
like 15 and 16-year-olds against like 30 and 40-year-olds. And we won one game.
We won one game. That was like that was amazing.
It was the best day of our life. It was so exciting. I almost fouled out like every game. I'm telling you, it was great because we had you, me, Zach, Trey, Cannon, Kaysen, and Blake. Was Blake there?
Blake wasn't.
Yeah,
there.
Blake. No, Blake
I don't
wasn't.
think so.
But it was perfect because we had everybody. Because like I could get rebounds, but that was pretty much it. Zach, when he was on, his shot was on.
Yep.
And you could keep the ball going around. That was about it. That's what we had.
And we had Trey to get angry.
Yeah, Trey would just throw the ball and get a little pissy.
Trey is really good at basketball, but he can get in his own head sometimes.
Yes, very much so. If you block his shot, I remember growing up, Zach would always block his shot, and he would, oh, those hands. It's like, it's not hands. He didn't touch you, dude. He just jumped a lot higher than you.
Trey is someone who I definitely want to have on the podcast at some point, though, because he can be really funny. So hopefully we'll have him eventually.
Yeah, we'll have Trey too.
Yep.
Anyways, we'll eventually get most of our childhood friends all on there.
Yep, we'll get all the kids that we had from the summer.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this whole thing. Might as well.
Yep.
Not at the same time because that would just get crowded.
Yeah, just one at a time.
Yeah.
So So back to the story. So they're trying to score before the game's out. No, it's good. Good. Interrupt me anytime you want to add in with the story. So they're just trying to score once, right?
Yeah.
And so the last few seconds, Sal's going up. He goes up to the free throw line. He takes a jumper, and it like rims out. And so they didn't score once. So the final score was 44-0.
Oh God.
And so both teams were like going down the stairs to exit because apparently they had to like go down some stairs to exit. And so like everyone from Sal's team is like really sad and like disappointed, right? Because like you just got blown out. Like that can't be fun at all.
that was not fun. That's a lot of laughs.
And then you have the other team, and this moment has haunted Sal for the rest of his life. He cannot see the number 44 or hear the number 44 without this moment replaying in his mind. It is of one of the moms going down the staircase shouting, 44 zip zip, 44 zip, 44 zip zip, 44 zip, 44 zip zip, 44 zip. Right behind him in the staircase.
That is awful. That's messed up, but hilarious.
That moment has haunted him for the rest of his life.
It has to. That's terrifying. Oh, that's the best. Yeah, you can't beat that.
So that's why the number on the shirt is 44 and the name of it is Zip Zip on the back. That's for that story.
44 zip zip, 44 zip.
Now that I'm older, I wanna be younger. Now that I'm wiser, I wanna be dumber.